Hey guys, it's Joy and I'm back with part 2 of the makeover / talking about my dad's life. You'll get to see the reveal at the end of the video of what my outfit looked like. And also after the my normal outro card plays, there will be pictures of my dad's life. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy that. And I hope that if you have any questions that you'll please leave them down below. Or send me an email with that information. Don't forget that I'll have my email and my Instagram link down below. And, okay, let's get into the video. It was about Thursday the week before, my dad could no longer take his meds. So we had to actually it was about 2 weeks before my dad couldn't eat or drink or take meds very well. We had to mash his meds up into an applesauce or pudding and feed him that way. And then it got to where we could, or yogurt, and we couldn't do that then. About the Thursday before my dad passed, so it was about 4 or 5 days before my dad passed, we stopped being able to do that. And then over the weekend, I think it was, or we were able to do that up until about Friday. We were able to do it until about the Friday before Dad passed. I'm wrong, because it was Friday, but the nurses go, well, you could use the liquid drops. I said, we're getting little bits, but not very much. We had to take Dad off of most of his meds that we couldn't open up and pour into his pudding and applesauce, crush them up or something. We took him off of one of his meds and switched it to Tums, and we had to crush up Tums and put that in. We were doing everything we could to make my dad as comfortable as we could. And so it was a hard couple weeks, and we knew the end was coming, and we just kept feeling it, and we'd talk it over. And during that last weekend, Dad had went to every day seeing the nurse. About a month before the end, it was about a month and a half, 2 months. My dad was on every day seeing the nurse, and he was on every day seeing the bath aide, and he was. Okay, now that I've switched cameras, Mom's going to come back over here by me. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see her. I'm so sorry, Mom. That was awful. Okay, so I'm going to finish up with that last week, what went on. So, my dad, obviously, he stopped being able to void his urine or his bowel movements. He wasn't able to eat or drink anymore. He hardly woke up when the bath aide was here on the last 2 days. And when he did wake up that weekend, he woke up on Friday and almost punched the bath aide because it hurt so much. Then on Saturday, same thing. Sunday, he barely opened his eyes, looked at her like whatever, and went back to sleep. And then on Monday, we had a different bath aide. And I said to Mom, and this is the part I said I'm going to leave in, even though I know if somebody hears it, they're going to get mad at me. My dad had been holding out for my other brother, not the one that is a truck driver. As I said, my sister was out every day. My brother, who is a truck driver, came out once a week, or tried to come out about once a week to see Dad, to give Dad a few hours with him. I was out the Sunday before my dad passed. So on Monday, I said we had called my brother on Sunday. My sister had done it. My mom had talked to him and told him he needed to come see Dad. It wouldn't be much longer. And he said, well, will Dad recognize me? Probably not. He's, and he's like, well, then I don't want to see Dad because I don't want to remember him like this. I want to remember him the way I know him. And it's like, okay. And then if that wasn't enough of a slap in the face for those of us that had been around and dealing with all this, he continued to then go off on my mom about stuff that had nothing to do with what was going on now, but stuff from the past that could be dealt with when Dad passed. Didn't need to be dealt with in that moment. And he went off on Mom. I was making sun tea, so I went out to set up the card table out on the porch and put my iced tea pitcher out there, and I'm just like, hang up on him! Hang up on him! I was getting so mad. He has issues with my mom and I, and that's why he doesn't talk to the family. I'm going to just say that. Are the issues founded? In his mind, yes. In my mind, not so much. There's other things behind it that I think he needs to deal with before he starts trying to pinpoint where his problems in his past come in. It's hard to explain, but that's all I'm going to say on that with my brother. So on Monday, we had a different bath aid. We had one on for the weekend too, but on that day the next day we would have his regular bath aid back. And I said to Mom, well, we were sitting in there with her because we didn't know about her as much as we did our normal bath aid. And we were sitting in there and kind of watching because I knew Dad had been fighting the bath aids over the weekend, and I was afraid that if he woke up and he would haul off and hit her and something would happen. So I wanted to be in there. And he didn't wake up at all. We couldn't roll him. It was just, he was miserable. I mean, to the point he was gone. He wasn't there. He hadn't woke up in over 24 hours. He was still there, breathing. It was a very deep breathing, like he was snoring but not snoring. But most people would probably refer to it as the death rattle. I would not call it a death rattle. To me, he never had the death rattle because it wasn't that shaking of his body. It was just a real heavy, like almost like a deep snore, but not a snore. The deep sleep where people are breathing really heavy through their mouth, not their nose at night, that kind of sound. And so for me, I mean, like, it was there, and we had a baby monitor in my parents' room that I had the receiver in my room, so if they needed me during the night, I could run and be in there. They were right across the hall. And so on Monday, when the bath aid was there, I said to my mom, I goes, remind me tomorrow to tell his bath aid, his normal bath aid, that his son won't come and see him. We've tried again. And she's like, okay. And the bath aid asked me what I said, and I repeated it. And she's like, oh, that's too bad, you know, and everything. It's like, yeah. And I said, well, his normal bath aid has been trying to get us to get him here. And I said, we keep telling him, but he won't come. And she's like, yeah, you'll have to tell her that tomorrow then. And tomorrow never came because my dad passed away that night. But my sister came. I had a problem or something where something happened during the night where in the evening, and I was beyond conflicted. I mean, Dad hadn't urinated all day or something. I don't know what it was that triggered me, but I called my sister and I said, something's not right. I need your help. Because I had given her the day off and from coming out because we were kind of starting to fight again. And so she came out and her husband came out and they sat with me, Mom and I, for a little while, and went in the bedroom and they seen Dad. And my sister told my dad, it's okay, Dad, you can go. You know, we'll be okay, Dad. You can go ahead and leave this earth. And I said the same thing to my dad. My brother had seen him the day before. Mom basically told Dad the same thing. I went to order groceries online that night because my sister was coming out the next day and I wanted to have stuff for supper. And I went to order my groceries online and my internet kept breaking off. I couldn't keep up. So I would doze off while waiting for it to reconnect. And then I'd wake up and get one item in the basket and doze off and wake up. And it kept happening because that was how things were working for me. Well, I was debating going in and putting them, because I had to put the meds in every 2 hours for the one and every 4 hours for the other. And, well, two of them were 2 hours, 2 or 4 hours, and one was 2 hours, something like that. Anyway, there was 3 meds I was putting in his mouth around the clock, every 2 to 4 hours, depending on the med. And so I went in at 10 and done it. And then I debated going in at midnight. No, I didn't do the 10 o'clock. I said, I'm going to skip 10 o'clock's dose. I said, I'm going to skip 10 o'clock.
He was sleeping.
He was sleeping and he didn't seem to be in any pain. I mean, he was just out. And he hadn't woke up all day. And I was like, I'm going to take the 10 o'clock off and then I'll come in at 12 o'clock and do it. Or right before I go to try to get some sleep. And Mom's like, okay. And I thought about it and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go in at 12 o'clock and do this and wake him up. You know, potentially wake him up. I always worried I was going to wake him up. I never did when I done it. I managed to do this without waking my dad up. And when I woke up the one time, jarred awake to do my order, I noticed there was no sound coming through the monitor like had been. And I got up, shot out of bed, shot across the hall, jumped on my mom's bed because my mom's bed was butted up against what was now Dad's hospital bed that had the railings up on both sides. And I said, Mom, I think Dad's gone. And that was my exact wording to her. And she comes through and she's like, what? And I goes, I think Dad's gone. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said,
where'd he go?
So yeah, she kind of like, what do you mean, where'd he go? I says, no, I think Dad's gone. And she goes, oh, and she jumps out of bed and runs around to the other side of his bed, and I feel his pulse, it's thready, and I goes, I'm calling hospice now. Mom's like, okay. I said, because I don't think it's going to be but a few minutes. And Mom's like, okay. So I called her hospice, and the nurse called me back. She goes, no, he's either gone or he's on his way out. He won't be much longer. Real nice. She was the night nurse that we had many a times. We grew to love her. She was like family to us. And then I called my sister, told her I'm on my way. And I says, can you call the brothers? And so she called my brothers and let them know. I think I took the oldest brother and she took the younger brother, the one that doesn't talk to us. And we let them know. And then when the nurse got there and confirmed it at 1:45 a.m. was the time of death, we immediately called the brothers and said, he is officially gone. And then I called his brother and my mom's sister and let them know so they could spread the word, the next day. And so that was like how it ended, like it all ended. But I actually checked my dad's pulse again one more time after that, and I think I actually felt the very last heartbeat. I to this day think that it was the very last heartbeat happened, because like it was there and it was gone, and it never felt it again. I mean, I was holding his hand for a good while, and there was a beat, and then there was nothing. And so I think I was holding my dad's hand when he passed, his wrist when he passed. So that's kind of eerie in a way, but it was a blessing at the same time. So for me, everybody's always like, oh, it's so hard to lose a loved one, and da 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 da, and you grieve and all this. I grieve in moments, but I never really went through the stages of grief at that time. I mean, I think I had grieved before Dad passed. I think my family will probably agree with me on this, that I never really broke down crying. I mean, I did once I had moments, but I never legit went into full down breakdown, crying, denial, all that, I mean, I didn't have the 7 signs of grief or whatever. I never had them. I went into freak out mode that morning because I hadn't slept all night. And this is the only reason I went into freak out mode, we are pretty sure. At about 5 in the morning, I posted on my Facebook letting my friends and family know that he had passed. And I never slept. I mean, I maybe caught an hour sleep. My sister went home after a little while and then came back when we called her. About 10 in the morning, I'm standing there pacing. I'm actually in this room pacing back and forth. I go out to the deck, come back and go to the front room. Go back to the deck, go to the front room. Go to the deck. And I'm just wearing a path through my house here. And Mom's like, Joyce, you need to calm down. Joyce, call your sister. No, call your sister now. You're scaring me. Call your sister. Okay, Mom, I'll call my sister. And I'm start rattling all these things we need to do. We need to get this done. We needed his, I needed to put his shoes with his suit because I already had his suit. We had actually had all that ready to go that night even. We had his suit laid out and so we could send it to the, matter of fact, the minute he passed, I knew he had passed, I had already pulled his suit to take to the funeral home. And all this and that, and but I didn't know they needed shoes. I'm like, I would never guess shoes to go to the funeral. But I had things ready for him to go, and then the next day I had really quickly got everything gathered up that needed to go back to the supply company because they were coming out to pick that up within the 24 hours. They would pick that up immediately. They picked it up that morning. And then the minute they got that picked up, I vacuumed and cleaned up Mom's room and rearranged it so that she didn't feel like she was in the same room exactly. And then I got to my neighbor made new curtains for my mom's room that week so that my mom would feel like it was a different room. It didn't help, so we ended up moving Mom into my room within a couple months. My mom was moved into my room because she was having a hard time sleeping at night. We would have to sleep in the front room and stuff. So that Mom had the bigger problem. It was harder for Mom because she was in the room that he passed away in. For me, it was I was relieved. I just felt like a weight had lifted off my shoulders, and it wasn't that I didn't love my dad. It wasn't that, there was any bad blood or anything when he passed. I think,
It was a relief.
it was a massive relief. And so for me, my smile really hardly left my face that week. And I teared up when we were doing I got angry and I teared up a couple times. But that was not so much Dad. And I know people are going, yes, you were actually grieving, that was grief. No, it wasn't. I haven't temper. And I got attacked for something I said. They asked me for a count of how many people were coming to the funeral. How do you know how many people are coming to the funeral? It's not like you call everybody and go, hey, by the way, he passed. Do you want to come to the funeral? If you do, please tell me, because that's not how I do it. Hey, he passed, the funeral we don't know the funeral times yet. It'll be in the newspaper. We're hoping for Saturday. That was the whole thing. We were hoping for Saturday because of my brother's work schedule. It would work out so he got more time off and stuff to,
And he did.
And he did. And we were able to do it. And then it got brought up again at when we were arranging the funeral. So I was a little angry because they were like kind of laughing at me about the number of people that would be at the funeral dinner. And then the funeral guy's like, asked us again, and it's like, I don't know, whatever they think. We don't, we're dealing with planning a funeral and where's the money coming from and everything. We don't need to be dealing with the number of people coming to the dinner, people. That is one question I think is ridiculous. Plan accordingly. The only thing you really know is how many is in the immediate family. God has a way of providing the food. That's all I have to say. I have seen the fishes and the loaves story come to light so many times in my life, where things didn't look like we'd have enough to feed somebody because we'd have extra people come in, and somehow things stretched and everybody got full. I have seen it happen at church events, at family events, at everything in my life. I have seen that happen. So for me, asking a person who's grieving to guesstimate how many of their family is going to go. Everybody wants to think that their loved one is loved and that they're going to have a ton of people, but the reality of the matter is sometimes you won't because of the timing of the situation. And like with COVID, unfortunately nobody could be at funerals because they couldn't do that. And so it would, it's like, that's hard. You can't judge that. So for me that was really hard. So I got angry. Not because I was grieving my dad, but because people were doubting what I'm saying, and now you're making me feel like an idiot, and I don't need that. I just got done dealing with somebody who, off and on throughout my life, had a way of making me feel stupid. I love my dad, and I still love my dad, and I will never stop loving my dad, but my dad was what's considered a toxic parent. And, it was a relationship that I loved him. I can't stop loving my dad because he was part of the reason I have life. But my dad did have his issues, and sometimes he made others feel not so good about themselves. He was a good man, but he had a way of sometimes not being so good. Is that a good way to put that?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was a relief, a blessing, and it was just because my dad had suffered. I had been watching it for over 11 years. I watched my dad slowly slipping away. An active man, slowly losing all activity. Having moments where he got so mad at himself because he couldn't remember a simple thing he'd done all of his life. And so for me, that was really hard. And I grieved quickly because of the fact that there was nothing to grieve. He had had a long life. He had done everything he really wanted to do for the most part. What he didn't get done was stuff wasn't meant to be. He, raised 4 children. He had 2 grandchildren, so it wasn't like he never got to be a grandfather. He got to see 3 of his 4 children get married, and I know he'll be looking down from heaven when it does happen for me, and I feel like it will happen one day. I hope before this one passes, but it's whatever God has in store, and I can't rush that. But it was a lot that last year, and I hope this answered some questions that you guys had about what happened, what took my dad because I know I'll mention my dad every now and then. I had wanted to start YouTube for about 3 years before I did, but my dad was alive, and my dad had a way of making it so that you couldn't video, because his background TV would be on, and that thing was to the ceiling. Like, it would be bouncing off walls, it was that loud. And so that was hard. And then on top of that, then there was the, we'd have like, he'd come in and interrupt you, and you'd have to restart, and you'd forget where you were at and everything. So I did a lot of practice videos in that like the last 3 years of my dad's life. I did a lot of practice videos, and then it took me about 6 months, 7 months after my dad passed before I was actually ready to post my first video. And I almost didn't then, but I decided I was going to. So, and now it's been a year and about a half since I started my YouTube channel, and I'm here talking about it. So, I'm gonna go get changed clothes.
I think she covered just about everything from day one to the end of the life, of his life. Yes, I didn't think I'd miss him, but I do. I hope he knows that I do. The longer it's been, the harder it is.
So I'm going to have to adjust the camera, guys, so you guys can see this. And this should be belted, but my belt broke, like I said, so I can't show you that. So I'm going to adjust the camera.
That was my mistake.
So there's my shoes. They're really cute little shoes.
Those are cute.
And then the dress. So we'll bring you back up. And I will take a picture of the whole outfit as best I can. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe. Comment down below if you have any questions regarding my dad's life and what happened, especially with his diseases, or if you've dealt with it and you have questions about it or whatever. I'm open to talking about anything in that area. So feel free to ask us questions. You can also ask them on Instagram or on my email address, which is linked down below. And I will put in a few pictures after the outro card of my dad's life. So if you want to see some more of my dad, stay tuned to the end of that for that. And I will hopefully catch you guys in the next video, which will be next week. I hope you all have a wonderful day filled with lots of love and laughter, and we will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys!